In this video, I will be showing you how to add covers to the different types of books that we're making. The first cover I'm going to show you is how to create a paper cover for your book. So the first one we're going to start out with is a accordion fold book. This will work the same way for the normal accordion fold and the pocket accordion fold. For this paper cover, you will need your book. You will need a piece of paper. If you have colored construction paper, that's awesome. If not, and you just have a white sheet of paper, you can design the cover and then glue that on. I'm going to use this construction paper, so you'll need your piece of paper, you're going to need a pencil, you'll need scissors, and you'll need some type of adhesive, like a glue stick, wet glue, or even tape. So the first thing we're going to do is measure out how big we need our paper covers to be. I'm going to use my book as a measuring guide. So, if you're using the book to measure, I would not start out in the very, very middle of your paper. Your book has two straight edges, and so does the paper. So put that book in the corner of the paper. You want the cover to be a little bit bigger than the book. So you'll want to place the book so that there is about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch on one side and on the bottom. And then I'm going to use my book as a straight edge to make the other lines. Now, since I definitely need two covers for my book, a front and a back, I'm going to fold this paper in half. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut out two paper covers. Okay, now we have two covers that are the same size. Now this is where our glue comes in. So I'm going to put some glue right in the middle. And then just try your best to get your book centered on this paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's a little bit hanging off the edge. Now we'll add some more glue on this side. And then try your best to get this paper now centered with your other cover. Now you have an accordion book with a cover on each side. Adding covers to your snake book will be done the same way that we added a detached cover on the accordion book. There's another way to make a cover for an accordion book, and that's an attached cover all the way around with a spine. The next book cover I'll be demonstrating is an attached paper cover. So what you're going to do first is you're going to need to measure how big that cover needs to be. Since it's going to be attached though, we want to open the book so that it's at the middle page. So we have 2 pages on each side. 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch on each of the sides. And then I'm going to use my pencil and trace out these 2 sides. Now for this one, we just need to cut this out. We don't need to fold it and create 2 because it's just going to be one piece of paper that we fold around the book. Okay, I'm going to fold this now to create a crease That will be the spine of the book. So I've got that folded in half. This will be the spine of my book. Open it up. And now I want to make sure that I've got all of the sides that I want my pages to be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to center this so that the spine kind of goes around it. You want some space left in the middle so that you can turn it over. But we now need to glue the book down to the back page of the cover. Now I'm going to add glue to the front. Now I'm going to fold that cover around it. So now I have a cover on this pocket accordion fold book. Making a cover for your instant book will be done the same way as I made the attached cover with the spine for the pocket accordion book. This next part of the video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a hard cover for your book using cardboard. You'll need scissors. You'll need some type of adhesive. I would highly recommend a glue. Tape would work for this, but glue definitely works the best. I will probably be using Elmer's wet glue just because it has a little bit of a stronger bond. But I've seen it done with glue stick before as well. You just got to give it enough time to dry before you move on to other steps. So I'll be using the Pop-Tarts box to make the hardcover for our books. We're going to be using the cardboard from the Pop-Tarts as a base to make our book cover thicker. But if you also just like the look of whatever food box you got it from, that can be the design of your cover as well. But in this video, I will be showing you how to wrap paper around the cardboard so that you can create your own custom cover or colored cover if you have construction paper at home. For this part of the video, I'll be showing you how to create a detached hard cover. I'm going to be using one of my snake books to show you how to make a detached hard cover out of cardboard. You will need your cardboard, a pencil, and some scissors for this part. So I'm going to find an area on my box that already has a perfect square, like the edge. So I see that this line here where it's folded is square to this side that I just cut out. So I'm going to be using that as my measuring tool for how big I need these covers to be. Remember that you want about a quarter of an inch to half an inch on this side, just enough so that the cover, when you glue it on and centered, is just hanging off of your book. I'm going to use my book as a straight edge and then a pencil to draw the other lines. And then I'm going to cut that out with scissors. Now I'm going to use this side of the cover as a template to make my back cover. So I've already got this side cut out, so I'm just going to match this side of the cover to this cutout piece and then use my pencil and trace and trace. Okay, now I have my two cardboard pieces for my hard cover. Using construction paper, or of course if you don't have construction paper, you can use a blank sheet of paper or any other paper, newspaper, anything really to wrap around these cardboard pieces to create your cover. So What we need to do is, again, measure this out to get a rectangle that is bigger than one side of the cover. I want it bigger than we measured out using the book. This time you want it about a half an inch. I'll use my pencil as a straight edge again. This time you can fold it in half to cut two out at a time. Okay, so I've got my paper that I want to wrap around my cardboard. So my first step is going to be gluing the cardboard in the middle of the paper. I'm going to be using Elmer's wet glue. You can use a glue stick if you have that, or even tape if you have that. Okay, so try your best to get that nice and centered in the middle of your paper. You will want to set this aside to dry. You want it dried completely before you move on to the next step. What I like to do is get something heavy, like a book or a brick or a rock or a plate or something, to set on top of your paper so that it dries nice and evenly on there. All right, I've got my book covers drying underneath. Remember, I want these completely dry before I move on to the next step. So I'm gonna let these dry and then we'll come back and move on to the next step in a little while. All right, so these have been drying for about an hour now. So it should be good to move on. What we're going to do now is we need to eventually fold the construction paper over. But if I folded it like this, we would have these little tabs here, and we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is, we're going to cut at an angle the little corners. So I'm gonna cut just at an angle these corners off. Now we need to fold over these little tabs to wrap our cover. Now I'm just going to fold it over. You will have to hold down for a few seconds to make sure that that is adhered. So I'm gonna hold it down for 30 seconds. If one of yours looks like this corner or this corner, sometimes I just put a little dot of glue and grab the little corner scraps that we cut and put it right on top in that corner. All right, I have got my two covers wrapped up and ready to be placed on my book. Try to get it as matched up so that you can't see the cardboard poking through the book. Once you are all glued on there, you now have your cover. This glue is going to be wet for a while, especially if you used wet glue, but even if you used a glue stick. So again, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you put a book or even two on top of your book and leave it there for at least an hour or even overnight. In this part of the video, I'll be showing you how to create an attached hardcover. In this one, I'm putting on the Instant book, but you could also do this with an accordion book or a pocket accordion book. I'm going to use a side of my cardboard that already has a squared edge. Remember that you want your covers to be a little bit bigger than the book, so don't line up your book with that squared edge. Give it about 1/4 of an inch space on this side and on this side. And then we're going to use the book as a straight edge to mark where we're going to cut. So now I need to cut this one out. All right, I've got one side of the cover. Now I'm going to use this cover as a stencil to create my other cover, my back cover. Luckily, this was cut just perfectly, so that lines up with that. I have a straight edge here, so I'll line it up there, and I have a straight edge there. So I just need to take my pencil and mark where I need to cut it out. All right, so these two pieces will be my cover. Now, what I need to do is I need to measure out how much construction paper or whatever paper you're using you need to wrap your cover. So when you are deciding how much space you need from your construction paper or whatever paper you're using, remember that you want your construction paper to be a little bit bigger than your cover so that you can cut it out and fold it over nicely. So you want now probably about 3/4 of an inch to an inch of space on the left side and the bottom of the cardboard. Then you need to measure out the other side of the cover with it. But you don't want to put it directly next to each other because then it would not fold. You need to leave some space so that when they fold together, it creates a spine and folds together nicely. You don't want a whole lot of space, but you do want some space. You'll probably want to leave about 1/4 of an inch of space in between each of the cardboard pieces. So then, just like we have been doing, use your cardboard as a straight edge and mark where you are going to cut. Okay, now we're just going to follow these lines and cut out this big square piece. Alrighty, now what we need to do is we need to glue these on. Remember that you want about 1/4 of an inch space in between the two pieces of cardboard when you glue it on. You also want probably 1/2 inch of space on the bottom, top, and sides so that you have enough room to wrap your cardboard. All right, so before you move on to the next step, it's really important that these are glued down nicely. So you're going to take something heavy, like a book or a plate or a brick, and put it on top of your book just so that it stays in place nicely, and leave it for some time for that glue to dry. So leave it for probably about an hour. Now what I need to do is I need to start folding over and gluing down these little tabs. But if I just immediately started folding, I would have these little extras here. So to fix that, I'm going to cut off the corners of my construction paper. You want to leave a little bit of space at the corner, so don't cut right up against the corner because that'll show some cardboard. But now I'm going to cut off these corners. All right, now I need to fold these over and glue them down. Now I need to add my cover to my book. So I'm going to add some glue to the very back page of my instant book. Glue down the last page of your book so that you cannot see the cardboard anymore. Alrighty, now we're going to add some glue to this side. And now close your book. And this is where I would recommend putting some books and heavy things on top, and then coming back about an hour or two later. Alrighty, now we should have a bound book.